Grab your gear, let's hit the water. Paddle and fin where the vibe gets hotter. Kayak fishing, straight talk, hear the stories unfold. Stopping freshwater adventures bold. With multiple hosts, yeah, the crew's all here. Casting lines in rivers, no need for fear. From the east to the west, we're making waves. Join the tournament hype, see how it raves. Paddle and fin, we're on the go. From the lakes to the oceans, let the good times flow. Fishing tales and triumphs will paint the scene. Give reviews and profiles, you know what we mean. Bring special guests, every episode shines. This is kayak fishing, where the world aligns.
Chasing the 20-incher Susquehanna River podcast is brought to you by these great companies. Railblazer, think outside the tackle box. Kayak Cushion, for them long days on the water. Achigan brand, the official brand of smallmouth bass. Blue Mountain Outfitters, Susquehanna's local kayak shop. Ken's Jigs, need a custom jig? Don't look any further. Nico Fishing Baits, next generation of soft plastics. And Undercover Baits, get hooked on Undercover Baits. Thanks for watching and welcome to the show.
That's 20. That is a 20.
Yo, what's going on, Sean?
Not much, Carlisle. What's up, brother?
Not too much. Let's see who's in the house. Michael Bradley.
He cheated.
He got in here first.
Yes, he did.
What's up,
Before
Michael
we even
Bradley?
did the
Good to see
countdown,
you.
but that's all right, man. Good to have you as always, Michael.
Scotty Hepner. What's going on, buddy? And
Yeah, Larry, man, you were too slow.
Yeah, Randy. Randy.
Or
from
Randy,
Undercover
yeah.
Baits.
Randy was a little slow, but
Yeah.
all good.
Well, before we get started, I want to take a little bit of time to congratulate all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day to you all. And hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful day. I know the weather was half decent. I mean, we did have a couple showers here and there throughout Pennsylvania, but even if you're not living in Pennsylvania, throughout the whole United States, throughout the whole world, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, you never know who we're reaching.
Yeah. So I know we got to get out fishing yesterday. The weather was crappy, but
I was gonna say got a little wet, but
it kind of
wasn't a bad day.
it kind of cleared up later on in the evening and actually turned out to be a nice evening. We caught a bunch of fish and had a good time. Larry Konsky was with us. For some reason or another, the fish were acting a little weird. They just wanted that little tiny swim bait. And I mean, you guys caught a couple here and there on a spinner bait and a chatter bait, but for the most part, they were hitting that little 2.75 swim bait.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the river levels, I mean, the river was moving pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, I think it actually came up while we were on it.
I think so too. If you look at we're about to get into the river levels here in a second, but if you do look at the gauge at Harrisburg, which we were pretty far above Harrisburg, but it did come up yesterday a bit.
Yeah, I could tell just from what we were seeing on the way up versus the way back down, how many stuff that was out of the water that was not as visible later.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and as of the title of the show, we have a mystery guest today, and we'll bring him in after we get through the river levels and the Chegan brand photos of the week. So why don't we get started with the river levels, Sean, and
Okay.
we'll get into the photos.
Alrighty. The river levels are brought to you by Railblazer. Think outside the tackle box. Thanks to them for sponsoring that. We'll start off with Harrisburg. As you can see, there's a little bit of rise there at the end, but otherwise it was falling. But I imagine that little bit of rise was from the rain yesterday and today. So that's sitting at 5.11 feet.
Yep. And then next we'll go to the West Branch, Lewisburg. Right now, sitting at 4.93 feet, and it looks like they're having a rise right now.
Yeah. And next we'll jump over to Towanda. And that's
Wow.
that's
a
a half decent fluctuation there. But I think Tawanda's graph always shows higher fluctuations just because the level is so low. But
yeah,
3.47 feet and a little bit all over the place there. So
probably good fishing up there right now.
You would think.
Yeah.
Although they might not know what to think of that.
Yeah. All right, and then we go to Marietta. Marietta's sitting at 37.41 feet.
I had some buddies that fished out of Wrightsville yesterday and did okay as well after the rain. So I think that's still fishing good. I'm looking forward to getting back there too.
Nice.
And last, we'll jump up to the Juniata, and Juniata is looks like it's going down. So no rise there. That might change depending how much rain or water comes from upstate, I guess. But
yeah. So there you have it, guys. Those are the river levels brought to you by Railblazer. Think outside the tackle box.
Nice.
And then we'll get into the photos. We didn't have many photo submissions this week, and I think it's because, Mother's Day and all that stuff. It's either that or people ain't catching fish, but I know people are catching fish.
Yeah.
So we'll start off here with a man that I got to share the water with last week. I ran into him in Wrightsville.
Oh, nice.
Mr. Jay Duke.
Yeah, Jay, I'm glad to see you're still catching them, brother.
Nice fish, Jay.
All right. Next, we'll go over to John DeVal. Another nice smallie there.
Yeah, he fishes out of Wrightsville a lot too.
I'm gonna say I know I've seen him in Wrightsville.
Yeah. And then next we have Jason Young.
He was texting me the whole morning saying I'm getting wet. My rain gear is holding up and the fish are biting. So he was happy.
Where was he fishing at, Sean?
Juniata.
Nice. Yeah, they're catching him on the Juniata right now.
Yeah. Yep. He was having a good day.
Nice.
So next we'll jump over to our undercover brother, Jake Karen.
First 20 of the year.
Yeah, congrats, Jake. I remember hearing about that. So always good to see the 20s getting on the board.
He caught that during our tournament down in the Upper Potomac.
Oh, wow.
That was from that tournament.
Okay.
Yeah. And then last but not least, we have Jared Clare with
a big old carp.
Yeah, he said he caught that on a chatterbait. So that's crazy.
You never know what a carp's going to hit. I'm sure probably initially he thought that was the world's biggest smallmouth, but
yeah. Remember you caught that one last year on a Ned rig?
That broke my rod. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. You thought you had a giant smallmouth too.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks for sending them in, guys. The photos of the week are brought to you by Achigan, the official brand of smallmouth bass. Next week we're gonna do our $50 gift card giveaway from Achigan. So don't forget to send your photos in on our next podcast, which will be in 2 weeks.
Nice.
I'll put a post out on the Facebook group page, and then you can submit your photos right in the comments. So, without further ado, you want to get into our mystery guest here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he really needs no introduction. Everybody's going to know him as soon as they see him. If you're anywhere around fishing the river or watching content online or learning. But yeah, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome back to Chasing the 20s, Jeff Little.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks. I want to comment on that carp photo.
Okay.
I caught a carp. It was somewhere between the Duncan and the Marysville float. Somewhere is approaching Dauphin. I caught a carp that size, maybe even a little bit rounder. And I made the mistake. I'm just like, yeah, this is a cool animal. I'm not going to just pop it off. I'm going to get a picture with it. And I brought it onto the kayak, and I have it on my lap. My buddy Roy Kenna takes a picture, and it's a cool shot, beautiful animal. But the pants I was wearing, I washed them 3 times.
Oh,
I had to throw them away, man. I had to throw away my pants.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
they're
that's
just that smell
uh
was so, and I think part of it was worse because that fish was like right around the time they start spawning, so like it was extra stinky somehow. Yeah.
Well, I
Carp.
think Sean would have rather threw away a pair of pants than a broken rod.
yeah, luckily and that was it's just my Ned rig rod, the very tip of it just did not hold up well to even fighting that. I mean, it was it took me a while to land him, and then I just looked up at my rod tip and it was hanging on the end of the line. I was like, oh man. But the rod company, I think that was my Trica rod, and they were very, very cool about it. They sent me a new one, and so mad props to Trica rods. They made that right very quickly. So
Nice.
and I was like, I can prove to you I didn't wasn't doing anything stupid. It's all on video. I was just trying to land a giant carp, and they're like, nope, no problem. We'll get you a new one. So
Yeah. Very cool.
yes.
Yeah, Jeff. So we wanted to bring you on because we wanted to just, I know I haven't heard really much about what you've been. I know you got a lot of new things going on in your life, and we wanted to kind of get an update of what you had going on. I know a lot of people have been asking questions about, where's Jeff Little's videos? We don't see him on YouTube anymore and stuff like that. So,
Sure.
why don't we kind of dive into that a little bit and talk a little bit about what you've been up to and your new endeavors and all that stuff.
Sure. I'll say on the YouTube channel, like I'm still cranking out a lot of content on my Instagram page, and if you're following that, you're seeing a lot of the stuff I'm doing with the tagging program for the smallmouth, which we should talk about.
Definitely.
I haven't been up into Pennsylvania much this year because I'm so focused on the Potomac watershed, which is the watershed I live in. Our farm is in part of the upper Monocacy watershed, right? So we're like, there's a creek right out there, goes down to Little Pipe Creek, that comes Double Pipe Creek, that comes into the Monocacy right above 77. And like that whole area of the upper Monocacy is what when my kids were little, like it was a very good short, Sunday afternoon trip after Sunday school. Like I could take the kids there and we would wade or take a kayak and I'd drag them around. Like it was good for that, but like I don't remember it being as good as it is right now. So the Monocacy is fishing better than it ever has. The Potomac is, but it's one area be amazing and the other, you go to another area, you're like, where are they?
We just fished a
Wasn't
tournament
we
down there.
there?
So
Yeah. So I mean, the Potomac is where I caught my first smallmouth at, I don't know, probably 11 years old, right? At Swain's Lock, right? Throwing probably a 3-inch white curly tail grub and quarter-ounce ball head, jig head. And like that section of the upper Potomac is home water more than anything else. And I guess kind of going back to what you had asked, Carlisle, was like, what have I been up to? I'll back up to last summer. I was still working for the trailer company.
Yeah.
And he just, like, Steve couldn't scale up from Idaho to the East Coast. He couldn't, scale up and figure out how to get numbers of these trailers east without it just being yours truly just zipping them back and forth one at a time, which is like a way to lose money, not make money. So,
right. Especially now.
You were putting a lot of mileage on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had still been cranking out videos until like the end of August, and that employment ended about that time. And I'm like, all right, I gotta make money. And I looked at what the YouTube channel was doing, and I'm like, I did a pretty hard analysis of, all right, what's the money in, money out there? because like I put in a lot of effort into these videos, and I discovered that I was losing money driving, keeping up with camera equipment, replacing bad SD cards, whatever. The subscriptions for different apps that help me make the right thumbnail. Like being a YouTuber is like it's expensive, and you don't know what that is until you're neck deep in it. And I realized I have to stop doing this because it's an expensive hobby.
Mhm.
Like I think my best month ever which was I think in 22, I made about $700, right?
And
Wow.
to give
Um,
the viewers kind of people that don't really know much about YouTube stuff, how many subscribers you had to get to that point?
so it was over 12,000.
12,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And then you
It's
get
not
money
really
for
the
the views.
subscriber number.
It's the views and
It's the views.
what is your specialty? What is, we say, the algorithm? Well, the algorithm is how they assess what your specialty is. What is your flavor of content, right? And they take that and they say, okay, let's sell ad space on your video, and then match you to that target audience, and then the right company that's going to place ads. So they kind of have to match everything up in, I mean, that's the business. It sells ad space, right?
Right.
It's not a content platform. It's an advertising business, right? So it just, I don't know, like it was like I had no income and couldn't afford to go fishing just to go fishing and produce the content. So I'm like, all right, what else am I going to do? And Sean helped me out. I mean, he was one of my students last fall. I did 20 classes. I utilized my American Canoe Association instructor certification, which I think I had earned level 3, which is like a pretty aggressive whitewater certification. Like I had to roll and do some, true wear the helmet in a skirted whitewater boat to get that level of certification. I don't need that to teach kayak fishing, right?
Hopefully not.
But it's, the paddling skills. I will tell you that, doing the 20 classes I did last fall got me through employment wise. But in doing those, it was the happiest employment I've ever had. I really enjoyed it. But if you crunch the numbers, like even if I do that and I fill up as much as I can, I'm looking at, maybe clearing 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm over 50. So like I'm at the expensive time of life where like kids are going to college, and
That's not going to cut it.
No, nowhere even close. So, and I networked within, I would tell you, the cycle of employment and when people need you. I say people, companies that in the outdoor industry. So I worked for Torquedo for almost 7 years. Then I worked for Boondocks for 11 months. And I worked for Snake River Manufacturing for part of a year, right? And all of the companies in whether it's paddle sports or fishing, budget wise, by August they're done. There's no more money, because the sales all happen like January to June, maybe into July. Like that is when the money, the cash flow is working with this, right? It's a little different with hunting. If it's hook and bullet and there's a hunting component, there's a little bit more seasonal balance. But with fishing and paddle sports, it's spring and early summer and late winter. So unless you're in Florida, then it's year round. But so, I was looking for employment, and a lot of times that turns into like doing contract work. Like I did contract work the year before for Catch, for Georgia Rivers, and a couple others where it'd be like, hey, for 2 weeks I go here and I produce video content, or I train someone sales management or content creation or something like that. So, it's I was actually talking with Thomas Aarons about it. He and I I was on his podcast, Fishing the DMV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he and I fished the creek over by his house, and like he's like the way he said is it's totally changed where it's a gig economy. Like right now, I have a gig with ePropulsion. It's a 9-month product development contract, right? That ends in September. Will I still be around at the end of that? I hope so, because it's like we're developing some super cool things, and I've been to China and seen their factory and worked with their engineers, and it's been amazing. Like we're gonna get some really cool kayak fishing propulsion products. Like it's very cool, but it's you don't always count on, okay, I'm employed now, one source. So I've always, I think it's just kind of been a shift where I'm like, I got to get money from here and money from here and money from here. And it's how I've been able to stay in this industry somehow, or and not just go drive a truck, or I don't know what else I would do. Like formerly I ran kitchens in nursing homes, right? I have a degree in dietetics, and I know how to make a commercial kitchen work very well, but I just don't want to go back to that. And I fought really hard to stay in, but I also wanted I miss doing the content creation, right? I missed making the videos. I'm like, I should make some money from doing this and not lose money.
Yeah.
Right. So, I looked at the layering of how we're going to do, how I'm going to get a little bit money here, a little bit from here, a little bit from here to keep doing this. And figured out that a subscription-based channel is the way to go. And honestly, I think I know you can do it through YouTube, but I got to the point where I was so enraged with YouTube once I realized that someone gave me $100 super thanks and realized that YouTube kept half of it. I'm like, you greedy assholes. You're so greedy.
Yeah.
And like, that's someone who's like trying to like, okay, please go. Here's gas money. And they take half of it,
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me leave. I don't want to say leave YouTube, because I'll still put teasers on there. And there'll be some other things. Like I put one up today. It was a walkthrough video of the Crest Craft I've been messing around with, which is going to be a really cool tidal largemouth rig. But I switched over to Uscreen. The platform is Uscreen. It's still the little stuff, but it's a little stuff on Uscreen. So I've done some teasers and some links for like a free 1-day trial. And I put the first things that, the first 17 videos I put on there. Sean, you took the class, you know what that instruction is. I did 17 different classes on everything from learning the hanging bow draw to, reboarding, to the sweep stroke, to reverse ferries and the whitewater maneuvers. All of the paddling stuff for kayak fishing was the first 17 things I did on there. Originally, it was supposed to be part of Chad Hoover's K-Fast, but like I'm not sure what the disconnect there. I'm like, I got them. Let me know how to upload them. But in the meantime, I'm like, I'm putting them up on mine, and then from there, I just started putting up, what's amounted to a lot of my Upper Potomac and some Shenandoah. I think I have a Rappahannock River trip on there. But like, Carlisle, I know you were like, you haven't been in Pennsylvania. What's up? And it's been that, I've been doing a lot of fishing in the Potomac watershed because I got involved. I would tell you that the story is on March 1st. I went down to visit my parents, and I just stayed the night, and then I fished the Potomac in the Seneca Breaks area the next day. So March 1st, I was there, and I had really great day. I think did I have a 90-inch day? I might have. I had a very good day, but I caught a fish that was 17 inches, and it had a tag on it. So if you look at the dorsal fin, and just it was a very like algae coated, like I almost thought, like, is that part of the fin? Because like, it didn't look any different. And then I'm looking, I'm like, this is a tagged fish. And I start scratching it, and I didn't know about the program. And I see the phone number. I'm like, all right, I'm taking pictures. And I took a picture of it on the board, which marked it at 17 inches. And anyone that's done a kayak fishing tournament knows how to measure the fish, close the mouth, swing the tail, get your picture. We're all trained to do this very well. And I got the tag number and then looked it up. There was a website on there. It says fish tagged. It was an older tag. It said fishtag.com, but now it's fishtag.org. Both of them will take you to the same place. And I plugged in that number, and that fish was tagged the prior May, so a year ago from now, but this was March 1st, and it was 15 and a half inches. And I got to see where that fish was, and that fish hadn't moved very far. Right. That fish lives in the Seneca Breaks complex. But it was interesting. In that period of time, it grew an inch and a half. And I talked to the man that started all this. It's Mike Bailey. And there's like 6 or 7 people that tag. And, I made a reel talking about it, and like apparently blew the doors off of like their Instagram account. They're like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, the growth we've had just in the last day because of you. I'm like, cool, glad I could help. And I asked, I'm like, so how much of this have you done? And they're like, yeah, we have done about 3,000 since 2020. I'm like, all right, 6 years, 3,000 fish. I'm like, what areas? And I learned that they've a lot of them in that Seneca Breaks area, which if you don't know the area, it's like Violet's Lock to like Pennyfield Lock is that section. Real fun whitewater area. It's actually where I learned how to kayak fish. Very close to where I grew up. Like, I spent more time in a skirted boat, like popping around in Seneca Breaks, like just figuring it out when I didn't know anyone for 3 years that kayak fished. Just figuring it out. So that's for sure home water. But they let me know, like, yeah, we go right up to the Needles above Harper's Ferry. I'm like, so like Dargan Bend, Snyder's, Taylor's, Hancock, any of those? What about Trip? No, we don't tag up there. What about the tributaries? Did you tag any of the Monocacy? Well, we had one capture in the Monocacy. I'm like, you have not tagged the Monocacy River. No. I'm like, that's absurd. Like, that would be like you're studying the Susquehanna and you totally ignore the Juniata. Like, and its role in being a spawning hub and the seasonal movements and all of that stuff. So they're like, he basically, Mike came back to me, he's like, yeah, we don't, like, there's a vetting process for adding taggers, and like, I've talked to everyone about you, and they're like, oh yeah, we saw the reel and we can't believe, we want to get him involved. And he's like, I'll teach you how to tag, but we need it like west of Harper's Ferry. I'm like, and you need the Monocacy. And I'm going to tell you that I've done a lot on the tributaries. I've done some on the main stem. I had one really good day at McCoy's Ferry, where I got a lot done. And we had some recaptures as a result of that. I had a very tough day where I got 2 big fish up at Hancock, and I've done the dam 4 area, and it's just been a grind. There's some there, but it's like you got to work for them. And then I go up in the tributaries. I go up in the Conococheague. I've tagged in Seneca Creek. I've tagged some in Catoctin Creek, and I've tagged extensively on the Monocacy and up into the creeks that flow into that. Double Pipe and Big Pipe Creek. I've tagged on those, waiting, right? Trey Leach and I tagged some in Linganore Creek. So all of these little tributaries were just, and the wild thing is, like, what's kind of been fun about it, 2 things really, is we're already getting some recaptures. I had a friend that got a recapture yesterday who I fished with. He got one that I had tagged 5 weeks prior, 5.5 miles downstream. Right.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he reported it. So, and there's a reel up on my Instagram that shows that, like, you got to scratch the algae off, get a picture of the number on there, the 4-digit number. And then you can, there's actually a phone number there that you can text that photo to. It's good if you get it on the measuring board. They've had other ones. I actually caught one of the other taggers tagged one at Lander on the Potomac. So it's like just below, it's kind of between Pointer Rocks and Brunswick, where Catoctin Creek comes in. It was tagged November 30th of last year. And in the interim between when I caught it and took the picture and said, okay, now it's this length, and it was here, it was up the Monocacy. So it went 9 miles down the Potomac, hooked up into the Monocacy, and went like 13 miles up to like near the Route 270 bridge.
Wow.
Like they run all over the place. And as much as extensively as I've tagged, and I know I'm 400 and some tags into it. I think I'm approaching, like, I have a photo folder that I just dump in there. I know it's over 500. I've put some other things in there, like every time I do a report, like this is yesterday's. I don't know if that's going to show up, but like I put the tag number and then whatever it measures, and I put that picture in there. So there's some other pictures that are not tagged fish, but like, the wild thing about it is I went out there and we get conditioned, especially in tournament fishing, you're just like, dinks don't matter. All of the sudden, dinks matter. Dinks are actually more valuable because you have more potential years of recapture later down, So to
It's
all
funny,
the
we just got that
Yes.
question. Yeah.
Yes. So I think the smallest I'm getting, which is last year's end of the year, 6 1/4, right?
Okay. And are the amount of tags that you're doing? I mean, I imagine they probably weren't getting that kind of number of tagging. Or are you?
No, I
like,
blew the
right-
doors off of.
I
like,
figured. I was gonna say that's what I was guessing.
because they're in a combination of like rafts and jet boats, and there was a kayak fishing guy, and there's more of them that are going to get kayaks because they're like, yeah, we can, like, there's times where we can't run the jet that we still want to go out and do this. So, but I think, and really what this happens, what this provides is growth rate data, which I talked about. My 17 was 15.5. That's a inch and a half during the growth season. They don't grow in the winter, I don't think. And then movements. So seasonal movements and growth. And the more recaptures we get, the more that data that we ultimately pass on to the biologists from Maryland Department of Natural Resources. We are permitted to do this through the Maryland DNR, right? So expanding those numbers, it's important that that we report all of them. And it's wild that like I go out in a tag of 19 and one that was over 20, and they're both of those fish on the upper Monocacy were recaptured and reported within 2 weeks. And I'm like, those are big fish, and that was a relatively like low probability of those being the only ones caught and recaptured. So people they're proud. They're like, I got the big one. Okay, cool. This isn't a tournament. This is gathering data. And like the one yesterday that Cameron Priest got, I was actually with him, was 11 and a half it was 11 and a quarter when I tagged it 5 weeks ago. Now it's 11 and a half. That's a really valuable one. So I actually talked with Tranco and was like, hey, can you get us some Achigan gear as prizes? That's the other thing. If you report them, you're eligible for prizes. I actually won the one in first week of March, and I got a Jake's Bait and Tackle gift certificate and bought some jerk baits. So, they got, who is it? Achigan is going to be one of those, but we're going to do something different where it's going to be like you win the monthly Dink Master Award. You've entered the smallest recaptured fish, right? Which there's a lot of them out there, but it encourages people to submit all sorts of different sizes. So if you're curious about it, please just go to my Instagram, Jeff Little Kayak Fishing, and just start looking at the reels, and you'll see some of these examples of how, this tagging, and then you can follow Fish Tagged on Instagram, which I'm making content for them. But it's been fun. I mean, I would tell you, I in college, I earned a Bachelor of Science in Dietetics, which is human nutrition with a focus on healthcare. And it was a good career for 20 years. And then I switched to doing these things with kayak fishing related, right? But I've looked back many times and been like, man, I should have done natural resource fisheries management. Like the biology part of it is so interesting to me. I'm like, that's what I should have done. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Here I'm 50, but now I'm getting to scratch that itch a little bit. Like I'm not doing the management, but I'm part of it. I'm involved in it, and I've gone after it with a sort of frenetic pace of like. So that's the other thing is the small fish is important again. So when you catch a small fish, you're not like stupid dink. You're like, yes. So it turns me back into like 11-year-old me, where I'm happy with every fish I catch, which is, it feels good. It feels really good. And I was like, all right, well, how do I boost my numbers? And I'm not going to tell you I've become a dink fisherman again, but like there are certain days where like walking the creek, walking Big Pipe Creek, I'm like, I know there's some 17, 18-inch fish that spawn up in there. They go up there to spawn and then they pull back to the Monocacy. And I saw them and I'm like, okay, cool. I see you. Let me pick off these little guys that are on the outside of your bed. And I started throwing 3-inch Senkos and little, it was the Slim Swims. I take the Z-Man Slim Swims and I pour my own jig head. It's a walleye jig with an Owner 5318, super sticky fine wire hook. And I'm throwing this little stuff. And it's wild that like I'm happy to get those 8, 9, 10-inch fish and put tags in them because I have years and years and years of potential recapture there. And we get to see where those fish end up in the system. Do they pop up? They've had some that they tagged at Seneca Breaks and went all the way up to Millville Dam on the Shenandoah. They've had ones that have like, it's funny. There are ones that are truly travelers and people. Yeah. I think we operate under the assumption of like, yeah, that's the ledge. That's where these fish are. No, man, that ledge, that's a train stop. Things come and go, and no one stays there.
That's what I was going to ask.
I do, but they move. They move a lot.
I was going to ask you, what was the furthest one that was recaptured as far as where they were captured before?
Yeah, Seneca Breaks to Millville Dam stands out, but they've had some that have been. I'd have to ask Mike. I know he told me that one. I know that they've had some that have been up in Goose Creek in Virginia. You know, basically, if you go to the dams on up any of these tributaries, and they're, you know, the fascinating thing that I'm thinking about is I've tagged so heavily, especially in April, tops of the watershed. Do those April upper Monocacy fish start populating? Like, are they going to show up in White's Ferry on the Potomac? Are they going to show up at Lander? Are they going to show up, you know, at Edwards Ferry? Are they going to run? Someone's going to catch them up at Dargan Bend. Are they going to go down the Monocacy and go up through Harper's Ferry and just keep going? I don't know. They go where the food is, and they go.
I was going to ask that. I was going to say what's the reason for migrating so much? Because I mean, these are the smaller ones are relatively young fish, so it's not like a habit that they, you know, year after year after year they do this. You know,
so they move for their, I think, smallmouth in general. They move for two things: sex and food. So to spawn, to have the right spawning habitat, and then to find the food source. And I say the food, it's sometimes it's energy conservation, and that's where winter holes come into play.
That's what I was just going to say. Yep.
If they're conserving their energy, or they're gaining a lot of energy by having a really good food source. So, and there's tributaries. A lot of what I've seen, and again, I got to be careful not to be the person prematurely anecdotally analyzing the data of what I'm seeing. Like, that's a Maryland DNR biologist's job to do that. But I know in the past, you know, this time of year and earlier, I'm not crazy about fishing the Susquehanna itself. I want to be up in the tributaries this time of year. And what I've seen is they run up there and they spawn all of these creeks. We can just start naming them, because I'm going to name a whole bunch of them at once. And some people are like, oh, you said that word. Too bad. They're in all of them. It happens in all of them.
Yeah.
Spatara. Cana de Gwinnett. Sherman's. Penn's. Montango. Like, all of these, and there's just, you keep going. There's just a lot. And the Juniata itself, like they run up it and find spawning habitat. Do they stay? How long do they stay? I know I've studied one in particular where I just locked onto one tributary and really spent time on it from when I figured, oh, they do this in the spring all the way till the end of the year. And on many of them, it's the second or third week of September, they clear out. It's like when it starts getting those kind of like upper 40-degree nights, and they're like, oh, something's changing. I don't want to be caught up here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think some of them, like, I'll compare it to, that was a Susquehanna trip. I'll compare it to the Monocacy. I think, because I know Monocacy is my backyard. I mean, I've caught 19s up here in wintertime. So some of them stay, some of them, this is just their home.
Yeah.
But I believe with all of the grass and the interesting rocks and the scrub islands, there's just good spawning habitat in that section. Is there good spawning habitat in the middle Monocacy and lower Monocacy? Here and there. But it's just what they do. They run up, and then they fall back. So, And it's funny, whenever they fall back and people are like, what's the most times a fish has been recaptured? 4, I think.
Okay.
So everyone talks about the fall, like, oh, is it the end of September? They're getting ready for winter. They're putting the fall feed bag on. I think they just, more of them have returned from the tributaries. So like fishing on the river it is better because there's just more fish end of September and October than there was in August. Right?
Yeah.
I think just more of them drop back. That's just my impression of years of like fishing all of them in both and hiking tributaries I mean, I will tell you that I got a 4-pound 13-ouncer in a tributary. I'd have to put a number on it, but I'm going to tell you 30, like mid 30 mile range, like 35 miles away from the mouth in the end of July.
Wow.
A big fish to be up in a creek. So some of them stay.
Yeah.
Why do they stay? Well, if there's spring water, that keeps them cool, man. They're conserving energy. If there's good abundant food source, I mean they're done spawning. I think most of them run up there. I think those bigs spawn sometime in April.
Yeah.
I think those bigs are done. First wave. But I know what I see in there. Like yesterday's trip, I went through a section that we got 32 fish. My top 5 total was 81.25. I think 3 or 4 weeks before that, I had a 90-inch total and just like loads of 17s that didn't matter in that 90 whatever inch total. So like other big ones, we didn't catch one of them 17 or better. So like those 15s and 16s are like, I think, the second wave, and they'll spawn here. And a lot of them are still fat, carrying egg mass. So like, yeah, it's May. Your second waivers are going to go. And I'm not saying there's not still 18, 19, 20-inch fish, in the upper Monocacy anymore, but I think a lot of them have dropped back. And it's a proportion of them, I believe. I think they all run up there. And in April, amazing. And I think Pennsylvania's a little bit behind there. I think you still have a lot of your bigs up in your tribs,
Yeah.
And that's where all the paddling skills come into play. I mean, you go up these, if you go up in, I won't even get into it. Like there's already people that are mad that I talked about their creek, but you need paddling skills to get up in these higher gradient tributaries.
Yeah.
You do.
I have a question, Jeff. So do you think there's probably, I would say there's some fishermen that do this. They do catch fish that are tagged and probably don't report them because they're afraid to kind of give away their little honey hole or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I'm giving away all of mine, but here's the thing. It's not a honey hole. It's a train stop. And these,
but you know what I'm saying as far as,
I do.
Let's just say somebody has a spot, right? They catch some tagged fish and they don't want to report them because they don't want their spot to become a community hole.
Sure.
Right. So I can see how there could be some people that are against it. But I think as far as the study of the fish and, everything that you guys are gathering from these tags, it's very helpful information. But I could also see the other side of where the guys don't want to.
If you go to fishtag.org, there is a search a tag function where when you catch a fish and you're like, he's 3582, right? Let's look that up. Okay, yeah, he was caught 5 miles downstream, wherever, You can do that, but you do that one at a time. One tag, one tag, one tag. You're not getting a heat map of where all of the tagged fish have been caught. You're not learning like and even if you did, you've learned what 6 or 7 people that do the tagging have figured out. I would tell you how I've approached it is I've covered each section, and I knew partway through April that in terms of if my goal was just to get numbers of tags, I should have stayed in the upper Monocacy. But I'm like, I'm covering all of it. Like, I think there's still one little 5-mile section from Monocacy Boulevard down to basically Linganore Creek, which is right above the Route 70 bridge. I've not covered that section of the Monocacy. I've covered everything else. And that was my goal, is to get that snapshot, that springtime snapshot of how many are we getting here, how many were we getting here, and then see what happens, But Carlisle, your point is well taken. That there are people that are going to be like, I'm not reporting because they're going to find my spot. Okay, that's one fish.
Right.
That's one fish. The other, I think the bigger thing is that people are going to catch a fish and release it, not ever noticing that there's a tag on there.
Oh yeah, that could absolutely happen.
They get coded. I almost didn't notice mine. It was like, and it was only because I'm like producing content, holding it up to the camera, and I'm looking at how it's framed up, and I'm like, what is that? I'm not looking at the fish. I'm looking at my screen that flips out on the Sony Handycam, and I'm like, what is that thing behind the fin? And then I'm looking and I'm like, hey, it's tagged. I would have missed it. It was totally coated in algae, and it took me a while to like scrape at it with my fingernail. That's the reel I made yesterday with Cam and Priest. That like, I'm like, you have this fish. Let's make this video to explain people. You have to scratch it off to you. So I think I made the joke. I'm like, it's like a scratch off lottery ticket. You're going to win some prizes, right? I think more people catch fish and don't know to look there behind. I don't bring my phone to like show you one of the pictures, but just go on Fish Tagged and you'll see where it is. It's behind.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah,
it's behind the dorsal fin.
I'm surprised that nobody has asked this question. Does it hurt the fish at all when you tag a fish?
If I jam a needle into your leg, are you going to flinch? Is it going to hurt?
I mean, yeah, a little bit, but then, I mean, in the long run, it doesn't do anything to them, right?
Does our hook hurt the fish?
Yeah.
My experience is yes, it does. I mean, it's part of the deal. Some of them don't move when I do it. Some of them give a little jump, but I'm quick about it, and I've gotten to be, where I don't get them to bleed much when I do it. So, and you know what the needle is? The gun is. It's the same thing that they put the hang tags in clothing. If you've ever worked in retail, it's the same gun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's another question. Casey Hepler. Jeff's opinion for guides targeting spawning fish.
So in my content on Uscreen, I had a lot of 90 plus inch days videos up till April 20th. And then I didn't have another even 18 plus inch fish. I filmed a lot in basically I filmed a lot and then realized I'm not publishing this.
There's your tag right there.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't getting a worthwhile day of fishing. Like to teach a concept, it wasn't something new, but it also wasn't big fish. And I don't want people to pay the $19 a month to be like, yeah, the biggest fish I saw you catch was like 15 3/4. I had a lot of those trips recently. I didn't publish because I look at it and I'm like, I see the bed, I see the fish, I'm moving around, and it's, during that period of time, I was like, let's let's get our numbers up. So like I had a gap between April 20th and here just recently, like earlier this week, I started getting those post-spawn bigs. Like I got one that was almost 20 earlier this week and I started getting 19s again with regularity. So they're down here. That first waiver is over the hump, but I'm not sure what the question really was. Is my advice for our
guides targeting spawning fish, I guess.
Here's the thing: whether you're a guide or whether you're a recreational angler or a tournament angler, you should know what types of places that they make beds, right? And at that point, you understand that they need something. The current's going this way. They need a current deflector, and sometimes it's a big ass ledge rock, and sometimes it's a grass. It's a grass bed that has a scour out on the backside. Like, be curious and like look for the beds and find them and understand how it works. When you do find them, you can catch those fish on either side of them on those current seams that are like, probably going to be your 15, 16-inch fish and not catch the 19-incher that's like fighting hard to like keep everything away from, from the babies. So, but I know, I think in the state of Pennsylvania, it's illegal to target the bed, right? But how many people don't know that there's a bed there, but plunk a tube and let it sit under the super still foam of like the biggest eddy? How do you not know that that's probably a good place to put a bed? And I think people fool themselves and say, well, I wasn't targeting. Well, it's just because you didn't look. You blind casted. So, like, the other marker for me, like the real easy one, where's the pollen gathering? Where's the pollen not washing out? Where's the pollen just hanging there? They're probably spawning there because it's an easy place to keep a bed clear. So, the other one is when the first I saw it on the Monocacy, I was fishing a crankbait and I was reeling it in, and I was even like, I had put it at the back of an eddy and was bringing it out. This was earlier in April, and I had this big fish come running up. Here comes a crankbait. It comes up from behind, grabs it and lets go of it and lets it keep moving. And I don't feel anything, but I watched it. I watched that fish charge it and say, I don't want you here. I want you to understand you need to leave. And it put it in his mouth and then let go. And I'm like, whoa, you didn't want to eat it. You just wanted to scare the hell out of it. And when they do that, or if say you're fishing a Ned rig and you put it somewhere and you're like, boom, oh, I missed him. And you throw it in there, boom, oh, I missed him. No, you're not missing him. He's clearing the bed. So like if you're throwing in a place and you're like keep missing the bite, it's a bed. It's a bed. So, but here's the thing, like you can't just say they're spawning and just say, I'm just going to stay off the river. Don't do that.
Yeah, you go out fishing to catch fish, right?
Well, don't do that because you can still fish current seams. You can still not dead stick a small plastic in the dead center of the eddy. But you also you need to understand, like you need to study and look and find beds to understand, like where they spawn on the Rappahannock is totally different where they spawn on the New and where they spawn on the Upper Monocacy and where they spawn 14 miles up Swatara Creek. It's different based on what that place, what that specific habitat, what that spawning hub provides them. Sometimes they back up to a log. Sometimes it's the grass bed. Sometimes it's a ledge rock. Sometimes it's it's out in the middle of nothing, but it's the right depth, and the current is like super gentle. And it's like, why'd you put it there? I don't know, but you did, and whatever. That was your decision. So,
Well, guys, if you have any questions for Jeff, put them in the comments and we'll get them asked.
I know one guy asked, how do we get this started in PA? Like, I don't know. That'd be up to the PA Fish and Boat, right? Pretty much.
It is. It is. I kind of threw out an olive branch to the biologist and heard nothing back, and it was just he was on Thomas Aaron's Fishing the DMV, and
that was a great episode where he talked about
fantastic episode, and I'm so appreciative for him going on there and educating us. But he put his email address, and I just basically said, "Hey, thanks for a great episode," and related some of what I've seen up in Pennsylvania with the movements of fish to what we're doing, and it was just a way to like make him aware. I didn't offer, but it was like, let me just, we do this, and yeah, I do fish Pennsylvania too, but so I wasn't. It's a tool that's available to Maryland DNR because of the relationship that Mike Bailey started this thing, and it's helped him. Maybe another biologist would be like, no, I'm good. We got our way of doing it, and we're managing it appropriately, which I think they are. I mean, I think the the results speak for themselves. It's a heck of a fishery, and I think that making that big section of it catch and release for so long has been such a blessing.
Nice.
So,
well,
anything else new you got going on, Jeff, that you wanted to cover?
So tomorrow morning, right now it's Monday morning in China, and they're reading my reports on prototype testing.
Nice.
I got a motor, and I took it out on the Conakajig tributary of the Potomac and smashed rocks with it for 9 hours, and took pictures and made notes, and they have a 11-page document with photos of me rigging the boat and what I changed, what I liked, what I didn't like, and then another 12-page document of, all right, I went to a creek and fished it, and just I did what I normally do, and here's the damage sustained, here's the little toggle switch that I don't like where it's at because my knee hits it, or whatever it is. All these little, the knob on the side of the monitor catches my net. Let's fix that. We can do a little triangular piece here as part of the hood that, all these little details that I'm like giving them. And thus far, I'm getting my way with everything.
Nice. There's
been so little deflection, pushback, or preconceived notion of what it should be, because when you go to, I do kind of want to talk a little bit about my visit to China, because it was wild. But they have no recreational boating culture in China. There's no one owns trailered boats, recreational boats. You go to lakes, people are bank fishing. There's no public boat ramps. There's no fishing tournaments, and it's just like their recreation is something other than boating. If you boat, you do a commercial enterprise, you have a job to do out on the water somehow, right? And it saddens me, but at the same time, whatever I come and say it has to be this way, they're like, okay, and then they make it that way. So one of the interesting cultural things, I know this is off topic for fishing, but it was a really cool thing to go to a different country that was so different than ours. We talk about diversity here in the United States, and we are the melting pot. We have people from all over that come here. And I grew up in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is a suburb of DC. And like I had kids in my kindergarten class with the last name Salahuddin, Acuna, and Nguyen, and you know, all these multicultural, like their parents came here from somewhere else, right? So my view of that's just how things are as an American is like, yeah, we're used to seeing all kinds. I mean, we're used to, you know, the bar scene at Star Wars, right? You got one of everything.
The
So
cantina. Yeah.
yeah, you go to a country that is 100% Chinese, and you're there for weeks, and you see one other white dude. You don't see a black person, Hispanic, and Indian. You just don't see him. You saw one other white dude in over 2 weeks. It's like, and then they see everyone like looks briefly and then averts their eyes like it's rude to stare. But look at the, and I'm a large American. You know, I'm 6'3" and change, and they just, you know, look at this thing, you know, walking down the street. You know, so we were working late one night in there's like a lab in the basement, like a robotics lab, and then they have the water tanks, and they do, you know, cycling testing of motors to everything from dropping it stupidly, you know, to whatever. We were testing things down there and rigging a kayak, and there was a female engineer, young woman who was part of our group. There was like, I think 4 or 5 of us down there, and she's like, she says something, and I'm like, oh, what's happening? And you know, one of the guys who is bilingual English speaker was like, oh, she's leaving. And I'm like, as I 8:30, 8:45 at night, and it's dark out, I'm like, I'm looking at the other 4 dudes, and I'm looking at her walking out. I'm like, are one of you, never mind, I'll walk her out. I'm gonna walk her to her car. And they look at me and they're like, why? That's weird. I'm like, for her safety? And they're like, no, you're good. She's good. I'm like, how? Listen, he said to me, he's like, have you noticed that there's cameras like at every intersection? You know, there's cameras as soon as you leave the premises. You've noticed that there's cameras when you get into you go to your hotel room, and there's facial recognition where you get in the elevator to go up to your room. There's cameras everywhere. I'm like, I have noticed that. He's like, it's a surveillance state. And if someone assaults her between our lab here and the parking lot outside, they will apprehend that person within 12 minutes, and they spend the rest of their life in a prison, if not executed. I'm like, got it. All right. That's different.
Yeah.
It's China. So it's like incredibly safe.
I was gonna say, does it work? I mean, it's impressive, I guess.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying
how different it is. Yeah.
It's different.
Did you get to spend any time touring any tackle shops over there?
Yeah, I did one Instagram reel where I show some of that stuff, but like we had to go somewhere for it. We also went to a bass fishing park. So I talk about it, and I didn't catch any bass. I think there were tilapia in there. Like it wasn't good. And they had these little bass boats with like a really horrible trolling motor on the front. Little Hybo. Oh, it was bad. And like the pedestal was too close to the foot pedal for me, and I'm like cramped up, and it was not a good experience. But in general, and I think Japan is like this too. I've not been to Japan, but I've heard different podcast people that are from there you don't own a boat, but you go and you rent the boat, and maybe you bring your motor, right? Or you just rent the boat. If you want to go fishing, you rent the boat, and it's on that lake that is for that purpose. And I don't think there's a lot of them, but there's tons of bank fishermen. And I had the first day on my own. I get there and they're like, "Hey, you get here at night, just try to sleep." And I didn't. And then I got up the next, went outside the next morning. Like, we don't need you till like the next day. 'Cause we're giving you the day to just like acclimate. And I walked the bank and I talked to 3 or 4 different bank anglers. So I talked to him. I pulled my phone out and I showed him pictures of striped bass and smallmouth and said, "America." And they're like, "Oh, cool." So, and I found a little telescoping fishing rod. Like, I think it was a version of like, a kid's like Spider-Man or Barbie rod. It wasn't that, but it was a kid's little telescoping one with like a tiny little gold hook on it, and like the line was doubled back and like wrapped around like you roll up an extension cord, and like it telescoped out. I'm like, "That's a fishing rod." And I was like, "All right, well, I gotta find bait." And I smashed like a little snail or something, put it on the hook, and I caught a little, I don't even know what it was. It was like a tilapia, but it was like that big. So I was like, "All right, I've caught a fish in a new continent."
Hey, yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Right. But the food was excellent. The landscaping there is immaculate, and like everyone that works is like, you just don't see people screwing off. Like, if
they're dialed in.
if they're
Dialed in.
landscapers,
Yeah.
they're like getting it.
Yeah.
There isn't a thing where you see like 6 of them watching 2 people work. That doesn't happen. If they're working, they're working.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the same thing in the factory. It was like, yeah, they're after it, and it's clean, and it's,
Their tools, everything's organized.
yeah. And it was the southern part of it, which has all of like the robotics and AI and batteries, and like there's money there. And I didn't really get into, like, I flew into Hong Kong, and then someone met me there, and then I had to go over the border into Dongguan, right? And I was in the area that had the money, so I don't know what you go into the interior, what it's like, but right there. But I will say this much, for a communist country, there's a whole lot of capitalism happening there. Like, there's a whole lot of people getting really rich, like a lot of super nice top end. I can't remember what brand of sports car I saw. One of the guys pointed out. I'm like, "How much? Like, that's pretty fancy. What is that?" He's like, "Yeah, that's $750,000 sports car." I'm like, "That's what I thought."
Mm-hmm.
And I saw like 4 of them. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. The other thing, business wise, so where this company was, where ePropulsion was a business development park. Okay. What does that mean? What that means is the Chinese government said, "All right, we're going to build this, 48-story building, office building, right? And you'll have like robotics lab in the basement, and you have this other part of the complex over here where you can test things in the water, or they do it for whether it's sports. They had like all these different basketball courts and soccer, and they're like, all right, so the government's built all this, and you as a private citizen say, "Hey, I want to start a company that does electric motors for boats." Okay, cool. You get the 8th floor, and you have access at during these hours to the laboratory in the basement. And if you get to a certain level of success, we can expand how much time you have there. But it costs you nothing. Here's where your company. You have to go hire the people. You pay the payroll, but your overhead, don't worry about it. So it's this culture of Darwinistic business development. Like, hey, there's already 37,000 lithium battery companies in China. All right, let's fund another 4,000. You know, they don't care. They're just like, yeah, do more, and the fittest will survive. That is their concept. Their country's way of saying this is how we do business development. We take away all of the overhead. We invest in entrepreneurs. What do we do in America? We tax the crap out of them and they fail.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
It's
It
a
is.
different model for sure.
But both of them, in both of those situations, only the best ones survive.
Right.
But
But you get a chance at least.
everyone gets a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good part about it.
It's interesting. It's I know with lithium batteries in particular, like and so many of their cars like are EV, like there's dump trucks there that are electric, which is wild to me. I'm like, you guys aren't using, and I think part of that may be this whole like they don't have the gas, they don't have the oil, and that's why all this stuff with Iran is interesting.
Yeah.
But they electrify everything. They have DoorDash that uses drones. Look at my man. Your egg drop soup may fly away and whatever get delivered by the drone. Look at my Instagram from back. I guess it was February. There's some China stuff in there. Not a lot, but enough. So. Cool. I enjoyed it, and I think I enjoyed working with them, and I enjoy the stuff that they're sending me because it's just I'm getting my way with everything, and hopefully I get to sell it. Hopefully I get a sales position at the end of this product development gig. We'll see.
Well, yeah, I was going to say. I mean, just having more options in that market, I think is going to be good because, it is a pretty tight market at this point. I mean, there are a few outliers, but
I will tell you that Wednesday I'm going down to the Kayak Adventure Series on the new, and I'll be doing some of my paddling instruction. I don't know exactly what Drew wants me doing, but there was some level of like the Bass U brunch or type thing, but they're going to do it on the water. Like he wants me to help him do some instruction, but I'm also going to be zooming around taking pictures. So I'm not competing. I'm going to be there helping Drew with content creation and seminars. Right. I will have a prototype motor down there, and we're developing more than one. But like the one I have has been doing really well for shallow water operation. I'm going places way skinnier than the existing stern mounted motors can go. I'm leaving people behind. They're like, hey, no fair. And I'm like, are you dragging that whole 30-yard stretch? Like I motored all the way up here. So I don't think it's flux jet level shallow operation, but it's really good. So I'll have it there. I will also have it at the Kayak Adventure Series event on the Juniata. I will have it there. And I've asked Drew if he wants to do a giveaway for one of these motors, understanding it'll be a IOU for whoever. I don't know how he wants to do it, but someone at the Juniata event is going to win one of the motors once they're available later this year. It'll be an IOU for what you can see at the Juniata event. So come check it out. Come look at it. It's one of them that we have in development, and it's pretty cool.
That'll be June 19th and 20th on the Juniata River.
Yep. And then we're gearing up for ICAST, where we'll have more to show. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Jeff, we appreciate you coming on. We haven't seen you in a while, and we were kind of excited to talk to you tonight about everything you had coming up in the future and all your new endeavors. And I don't know how you still have your hair, because if that was me, I'd be stressed out trying to figure out where I'm making my money.
Yeah,
but
it's
kudos to you, man.
Yeah, it's I'm not alone in this. I mean, I know there's a lot of just with how the economy has gone, and especially in the outdoor industry, I've just seen, you know, uh, people who should never ever be asked, like terminated from a position, like AJ McWhorter. He should have always been Hobie for the rest of his life. And I know with what happened, it changed, but like if AJ loses a job, something's really wrong in the industry. And he's landed on his feet. He's doing great things for Newport for the time being. And it's tough. And it's not just the outdoor industry. It's lots of different industries. So
yeah, it's everything.
Things are shifting, and as Thomas Aaron said, it's a gig economy. So I'm going after whatever next little bit from here, a little bit here, lots of little stacks of money. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing with the U-Screen. So if you want to catch up with my current stuff, there's a lot of content that I did this spring. I did 2 seminars and they're on there, and a lot of good instruction stuff on there. So check it out. You can do a 1-day free trial if you go to the U-Screen channel. If you just go to Jeff Little Kayak Fishing on Instagram, and in my signature there's a link. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you want to
subscribe for a day, start watching stuff, then cancel it. Watch it all. Binge watch what you've missed the whole time.
Yeah.
Go do it. Say, I don't have $19 a month. That's cool. Just try to get it all in 24 hours. Like, get a good night's sleep, wake up at 8 o'clock, and just get, like, you won't make it 24 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a lot, but
or stick around and help support my continued content creation for $19 a month. So,
yeah. Well, Jeff, we wish you the best of luck, man.
Appreciate it.
We will see you at the Judiata.
Yes.
For sure.
Cool. I look forward to seeing you guys there.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for coming on. Sean, you have anything else for Jeff?
No, man, I just wanted to say thanks again. Any chance of doing a winter class this year?
Things like professionally wise slow down in August, so I'm probably gonna do my classes again in the fall,
because I did the fall class, but I didn't. I was thinking the winter one might be good too.
I did 2 winter classes.
Well, you said he was gonna slap your hand, so in the winter he's definitely gonna slap you.
Do you remember that, Jeff, when you were like, you're teaching me dead stick, and you're like, yeah, I told you not to move it. If you move it again, I'm gonna come over there and smack your hand.
Yeah,
Michael Bradley, thanks, buddy.
All right, guys. Well, Jeff, we'll let you go. Again, we appreciate it. I'm looking forward to checking out that new motor. And guys, if you're interested, check out Jeff's pay channel. Definitely, as always, a ton of great information out there, I'm sure. And we'll look forward to catching up with you as your adventures continue, man.
Cool. Appreciate it, guys.
Tight lines, brother.
All right. See ya. Carlos, you got anything else?
Actually, I have some tournament dates coming. The tournament's coming up.
Okay. Just
a couple of them real quick. May 23rd. It's our first tournament for kayak anglers of Central PA. It's also the same day as PA Bass Nation on the Upper Chesapeake. So that if you would want to fish both of them, the Kayak Anglers of Central PA is human powered only. So if you wanted to fish both, you'd have to not use your motors. June 14th, we have another tournament on the Juniata River for Kayak Anglers of Central PA. And then the following weekend is the KAS on the Juniata, June 19th and 20th. And that's going to be a blast. That river is going to be packed.
Oh, yeah.
So I know there's a couple lakes that are also inbounds for that. So, and who knows, it might be one on the lake.
Yeah, there's definitely some lakes in the area that you can get a lot of inches.
Depending on the pressure, I think the pressure is what's going to really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
especially the week before we have a tournament on the Juniana before that. So
yep.
the pressure is going to get to them fish, but somebody's going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I had as far as dates for some tournaments.
Cool.
That's all I got. I do want to take a minute to thank all of our sponsors. We don't get to recognize them enough, and we didn't really get to throw our banners up for this episode. But if you want discount codes, they will be down in the description of this video. Railblazer, one of our big sponsors, they've been with us since we started the show. It's gone on 2 years now, Sean.
Yeah.
Undercover Baits, big supporter of the show.
Yeah.
He also, for the people that don't know, had paid for our checks that we're going to be giving away for Kayak Anglers of Central PA, and we have his logo real big on the check. Achigan also threw in money for them checks too. Their logo's on the check. Big shout out to Achigan for letting us give away $50 a month for the photos of the week. Kayak cushion, cushion for your tushin. You know, I couldn't fish for an 8-hour day if I didn't have my kayak cushion. So if you guys don't have them, we have a discount code for them down in the description. Check them out. Ken's Jigs. Ken's always been super good to us ever since we started this. Blue Mountain Outfitters. We do not have a discount code for them, but if you do go to the store and mention Chasing the 20 Inchers, Sarah will give you a discount on I think it's just
accessories.
Accessories. So they have a lot of stuff up there as far as accessories go.
They got a ton of Yak Attack stuff, like almost the full Yak Attack lineup. So among other things.
So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to give a shout out to them. We don't get a chance to talk about our sponsors enough. So yeah, we appreciate all of you so much for what you do for us. And we will see you on the next Chasing the 20 Inchers.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you guys. See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on one of our shows and talk of adventures, gear, or products? Contact us. Thank you for watching The Noob Show with Matt Gibson, Chasing the Tide with Dustin Nichols, The Rusty Hook with John Rapp, The River Run with Adam Fraser Pross, May Contain Fishing with Daniel Woodcock, Chasing the 20s with Carlisle Esterly and Sean Lavery, Friday Night Bites with Brian Schiller. Thanks for tuning into the Paddle and Fin Network. Subscribe and always wear your PFD.